Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday and we take questions and answers from the audience, some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy. I don't know how much you guys know about the topic at hand, but the world can go so much deeper. The world can go so much deeper into various different things. Just recently, I found something out. It was through an expert. It wasn't through Sophia, it was one of her friends, and it really opened up my mind and made me go, holy cow. I thought I knew a lot about my mind and the way the world worked. But when I heard this, it just opened up to a whole new realm of possibilities. And it really confirmed to me that no matter how much we learn, no matter how much we know, there's always going to be so much more that we don't. So I'm very excited tonight to have Sophia share with us. And Sophia, she may or may not share screens. She would do it her own way. But we're all very lucky to have this share session with her. Nothing's going to be sold. You just get to enjoy the journey.
Thank you, Adrian, and thank you everyone that is joining tonight. Let me then share my screen first. All right, so today's topic is archetypes, the pictures in the collective unconscious. So this is one of my favorite topics. And as Adrian was saying, we can always get deeper, go deeper, right? The math is not the reality, right? So we all, the territory. All right. So there's always something deeper and deeper, right? And archetypes is all about digging deeper into our subconscious. All right. So the question there that I started this presentation with is the mind of a newborn blank, awaiting for input from the world to gain structure. So when we are born, do we already have some baggage? Do we already have some information? Or is it completely empty? Maybe we don't have any knowledge, any content at all, any structure in our minds. And that is the basic question to understand archetypes. So feel free to share also your insights. What do you think? Do you think when we are born with a completely blank mind, like a piece of white paper, or is it it already has some structure? What is your take on this? Feel free to share. Yes, please.
There's already something when, let's say, a woman is pregnant and she's smoking and she's fighting with her husband and they're alcoholics and they're, I don't know, the child is born with these things already preconceived into him or it.
Exactly, because we start receiving information where we are still in our mother's womb, right? So from very early, we just start absorbing information from the environment, including when we are still in our mother's womb. That's right. But according to some specialists, we are born with a blank mind. And according to others, they have a different perspective, and there's actually a pre-structure. So let's get into this. So the first author that I studied a bit about was John Locke, and he believes that the mind is completely blank. It's just like a white paper void of all characters without any ideas. So when we are born, there's nothing. There's zero information. And we acquire some information as we experience things. So in life, we acquire things through experience, right? So this is the theory called tabula rasa. But then we have Carl Jung, that I really like like his theories. That on the contrary, he believes that the man already has a lot of information when he is born. So he believes that we inherit a lot of information from our ancestors. And this here is also, it's also a bit, now I'm currently studying about family constellations. And this reminds me a little bit about that, because in family constellations, people believe that we receive a lot of a baggage, a heavy baggage from our ancestors and from all the experiences that they have been through, all the trauma. It's called transgenerational trauma, something like that. And here, Carl Jung also believes in that we receive a lot of information and it is genetically transmitted to us. But we are unconscious of it. So basically, we already have all the information inside of us, but it's not activated because we are unconscious. That information is actually in our unconscious mind. Okay, so he says, we think that we are born today tabula rasa without a history, but man has always lived in the myth. So the myth is the story, the basic stories and patterns of the humanity. So all the stories are actually patterns, and they appear across in many different parts of the world, across times, across generations, and they repeat themselves. But before we try to understand what an archetype is, we need really to understand first what is the theory about psyche according to Carl Jung. So according to Carl Jung, we have a very complex psyche that we all know that it's complex. But this psyche, according to Carl Jung, it has the self that is the center of the psyche and includes both the conscious and the subconscious mind. So we have everything that is conscious and everything that is subconscious inside of the psyche. And then we have the ego, or ego, that is identified with the conscious mind. So it's basically the center of all the consciousness. And inside the ego, we actually have the persona, and the persona is our social mask. So it's basically the way we present ourselves to the world. It's not necessarily what we are, because we are all of these, but it's the way, it's the face that we show to the world. And then we have the personal unconscious, that is basically all the information in ourselves that is unconscious, all the stuff that we repress, that we don't want to see, right? Most of the times we don't want to see, that's why we repress it. And one part of that personal unconscious is the shadow, right? So we have many shadows, are basically those parts of yourself that you don't usually want to look at. All right. And then we have the collective unconscious. So we not only have the personal unconscious, that it's individual, but we also have a collective unconscious as a humanity, right? We share a lot of common stuff, a lot of common pictures. And this kind of knowledge, it's not only yours, it's not only mine, it's of everyone. And it exists whether you want to live it or not, but it exists because you live in this world. All right, and the archetypes, they exist precisely in the collective unconscious, so they are shared. They exist across time in many different parts of the world, and they keep repeating themselves. If you have any questions, just feel free to share. Okay. And Carl Jung talks also about the animus and the anima. And these are the masculine side of us and the feminine side of us. We all have both. Alessia the other day had a beautiful presentation about this topic, so I won't also go very deep here because that's not the point of today's talk. But it's basically this concept that in our subconscious, we have the feminine side and the masculine side. And we cannot repress them because they both exist in us, and we need them in our lives. We need a balance. So basically, the animus is the unconscious masculine side of a woman. So women also have a masculine side, and anima is the unconscious feminine side of a man. And it's important that we leave both. Because as we see, feminine is a passive energy, is a passive archetype, while masculine is active, is action. And there are many other differences here. For example, when we talk about right brain and intuition, emotions, we are talking about feminine energy. Masculine energy is more about left brain, is more logical. And there are many other differences, but it's good to have some balance in these energies inside of ourselves, because otherwise we will experience some negative consequences. As we can see, when there is some excess of one of them, there might be some negative consequences for us, because archetypes are always a spectrum. And whenever you are living too much of an archetype, and the archetypes that we're going to see next, I will try to explain this better. So whenever you are living too much of an archetype, it means that it's not a positive thing, because you will leave the shadow of that archetype as well, not only the light side. Because if it's balanced, it's good. If it's too much, we can experience some negative consequences. All right, so what are archetypes? Archetypes are the original patterns or models. They are a priori knowledge. They are universal, as I was telling you. So they exist across time and across the world. They are patterns. They are natural patterns of our human nature. And they basically serve to organize our experiences, to organize our world. And they might be characters, they might be symbols, situations. So there's an infinite number of archetypes. So today I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on personality archetypes, but also considering the marketing side of it. But we will see also other aspects of archetypes. And something that is very important is that archetypes influence our human behavior. They influence our actions. And especially when you talk about marketing, this side is very important, because symbols, situations, they are talking to us all the time. They talk to our subconscious mind. We are not aware of it most of the time. Just think, for example, what are your favorite brands? Right? So what are the brands that you usually are loyal to, and why? Ask yourself, why am I loyal to this brand? Why I always go to these, to buy this kind of brand? And try to identify the whys. We're going to go through all of the archetypes, and all of these personality and brand archetypes, and you can try to understand which is yours and why it attracts you, right? All right, so I want to start the archetypes with one of my favorite archetypes. It's the archetype of the butterfly. And this time I need you to participate a little bit. And I'm going to ask you, what does the butterfly represent to you? The butterfly is this symbol of transformation, transmutation, rebirth, hope, life, right? And why is that? It's because the butterfly has a story, right? The butterfly starts by being a caterpillar, right? And this caterpillar, we don't usually associate it with beauty. As you were saying, we associate the butterfly with beauty. But before the butterfly turns into a butterfly, it is a caterpillar first. And then it goes through the metamorphosis, this quite painful process where it stays in the dark for some period of time. And in this process that it seems that it's the end of the caterpillar, and it is the end of the caterpillar actually, but it's a transformation for something better, right? So I usually use a lot of the butterfly archetype for my coaching because I do believe that coaching is also all about transformation, and it's this beautiful transformation. So I usually say that, wow, that's a butterfly? Great. Wow. Thank you, Adrian. So you have one butterfly in your wall or somewhere in your room, right? That's great. And we will have Zoe, one of my coaches, and she will talk a little bit in the end about the transformations that happened in her life after she started to use this archetype, the archetype of the butterfly. But well, as I was saying, in coaching, as coaches, we transform people, right? And we guide people through this transformation. It's not that we transform them. They make their own changes. We just trigger this changing inside themselves. And they also need this period where they are in these, I call it the dark times, where they really reflect and they look into themselves and they look into the aspects of themselves that many times people don't want to look at, right? So I usually talk about the archetype of the butterfly to talk about coaching. All right, another archetype, mother. Okay, so when you think about mother, what ideas come to your mind? What is this archetype about? Feel free to share one more time. Just think about the whole archetype of mother in general. Caring, soft feminine, caring about others, love, care, has given birth to a child, maternal, devotion, that's true. All right, okay, thank you. So, sorry. All right, so the mother, the archetype of the mother is this nurturing, caring archetype, as you were saying, is the selfless carer. And we always talk about mother, and many times, if you see, for example, when there's a brand that somehow is related to nature, there's always this idea of the mother nature, right? We talk about the mother nature because the nature is the one that provides for us as humans, right? Is the one that gives us the resources, the life, right? So the mother is this idea of nurturing, the protector, the one that protects and provides for the offspring at any costs. And we see that this is this idea of mother, this concept of mother is also in religion. You can see it, for example, the Maria from Christianism, right? Then you have other kinds of goddesses related to nature. And if you see, they are usually many times, whether they are carrying a baby or they are pregnant, for example, and they usually have some curvy shapes as well. They are always connected to nature. All right, so one topic that I also love is tarot cards. And tarot cards have its foundation in archetypes as well. So for example, we have here 3 different types of tarot decks, but they all are the same card, the Empress. And the Empress is precisely this symbol of the mother. So as you see, we have here these 3 different cards, but they all share a lot of similarities. So you can see that in these pictures, there's a lot of natural elements. So let's start, for example, from the first card where we have the hair of the woman. It has some leaves, if you can see closely, right? It has some leaves. Then her Tom, right? Her tummy she's pregnant, right? And he's a globe. So it's all about this connection with nature and with the planet. Then you have the element of water, right? Or water is present in all of these cards. If you can see in the second, the little one over here, and in the third one, we can also see it over here, right? The spring. And all of these are the elements of the nature, and they symbolize fertility, and they symbolize also abundance. For example, we have the wet springs, right, over here, the harvest. So the mother is all about the harvest, the giving birth to something. And when in tarot, we speak about, if we have this card, the Empress, it doesn't necessarily mean that the woman is pregnant. It means probably that she's giving birth to something. Something is, she's bringing something to life. Maybe a new project, maybe, you know, something else, but it doesn't mean necessarily that the woman is pregnant. So that's why I really like tarot, because tarot is also about our subconscious mind and archetypes. Okay, now I have another one, chair. So what does a chair represent to you? Could you please share in the chat as well? When you think about chair, this is a bit more difficult somehow. It's not so obvious. Roles in a company. A company. Very nice, Zoe. What else comes to your mind when you think about a chair? Structure. Nice. Stable. That's right. Support.
Relax or rest.
Sorry, Amy, I couldn't hear you. All right. Okay. Thank you. So as you see, we have different types of chairs, right? And the thing is, they are all different from each other. As you see, we have different types of chairs, different colors, different materials. For example, this one is probably a doctor's chair, or a chair in the dentist, right? Or this one is a makeup chair or something like that. I checked it out. It seems to be like a makeup chair. They all have different purposes. They look differently. But the thing is, when we see it, we all associate the same type of ideas with the chair. And even if somehow someone lived, you know, far from the civilization, like for a long period of time, and couldn't really understand what a chair is by looking at others, you would still be able to recognize that a chair has all these meanings. So a chair is this idea of waiting for someone. It generates some kind of expectation. If you go to a theater, for example, and there are hundreds of chairs and there's no one sitting, you will feel a very strange feeling, because somehow there's so many chairs, no one is really there, right? Okay, let me just. And also this idea of something is going to happen, especially when you have lots of chairs, something big is going to happen. And you can also think about if you invite a friend to your home and there are no chairs, do you think they will feel welcome? Right? Probably not, right? Because it's this idea that the chair is connected with welcoming someone, right? With having a place for them to sit, to rest, and support, as you say. All right, and according to Carl Jung, we all have 12 basic archetypes inside of us. These are the character or personality archetypes. The same thing with brands, because in marketing, the brands will need to use these character archetypes to convince us somehow that we are connected to that brand. So we will want to buy that brand. We will feel connected. We will feel that we are the same as this brand. And we have 12. But these 12, it's not, people usually say that we have one archetype. So usually what happens is that we have one natural archetype that is more evident in us. So it's something very natural for us to be that archetype. But actually, as I told you, we have all of them inside ourselves. But maybe if we really are able to have all of them, it means that it's something, we are very healthy and we can be very happy in our lives because we have all of these. But many times what happens is we only have one or two, and we are leaving this archetype to the extreme until it has some negative consequences. Okay, so basically we have 4 basic groups of archetypes. We have the ones that like to explore spirituality, and we have 3 different ones: the innocent, the sage, the explorer, and each one of them has different values. Then we have the ones that leave a legacy: the outlaw, the magician, the hero, the ones that pursue connection. So these are the ones that really value connection and belonging. So the lover, the jester, the everyman. And then we have the ones that provide structure: the creator, the ruler, and the caregiver. And all of these are needed in our society, right? So for example, if you think about a leader, and you have, as a leader, you have an innocent person, a person that is living the innocent archetype, then probably people won't really take him seriously as a leader. Or let's say the jester, that it's all about fun, about having fun and making people laugh, but he is actually the, let's say, the leader or the boss in some company. People won't be able to take him seriously because of his personality traits. So maybe if someone like him, he's a leader, he will have to adapt himself and also start living a little bit more of the ruler, for example. All right, let's get into this. So the first archetype is the innocent. So the innocent is the honest guy, the optimistic guy or girl, right? So it's the pure one, the cheerleader. It's someone very optimistic that is always taking life very lighthearted somehow, but it's the kind of person that always see the good part of people, the good side, always looks into the bright side of people. And the motto is free to be you and me. Don't worry, be happy, right? It's this idea of don't worry, just be happy. And it really values optimism, trust, safety, hope, faith, simplicity, and loyalty. But the biggest fear is really punishment. So doing something wrong and being punished. So it's a little bit of somehow the child archetype. It has some similarities with the child archetype, but lived to the extreme, it can be really naive. The person can be really naive or very childish, as I was saying, or very idealist. So to the extreme, it might not be good. So now I want to ask you, okay. So what brands do you associate with this kind of archetype? Or what people do you know in your life that have these kind of traits? Just think about it, because we all have friends that are innocent. We all have the rulers. We have all of these people in our lives, and some of them are ourselves, right? All right, just feel free if you think of some brand. Or for the ones that already went to my archetypes workshop, that I know some people are here, can also share. All right, so let me get into it. So dove, we have dove, for example. Dove is very obvious because as you see the logo, it's a dove. And it's the symbol of purity, right? Being pure. And if you read here, I am beautiful because I am happy with who I am inside and out. So it's these very hopeful people, like it has a lot of hope. and very optimistic, right? And somehow naive as well. And you won't see in Duff's advertising, you usually don't see a wise old man doing this advertising, right? You usually see children or women with certain traits, right? But children, they use a lot of children, just like in this picture, because it's really this childish, pure side of Dove. Then we have Coca-Cola. Of course, every brand, just like us, it has different archetypes inside themselves. So Coca-Cola is not only innocent, but there's one of their the archetypes they use. So it says, open a Coke, open happiness. So it's all about, oh, happiness is so simple. Let's just be happy, right? And then we have Tom Hanks in this movie, Forrest Gump, right? That it's extremely obvious, right? Because his character is just this very naive guy. He's very pure. He doesn't understand, many times he doesn't understand the bad intentions of people. He always tries to look into the good side of people, right? And he says, my mama always told me that miracles happen every day. Some people don't think so, but they do. So it's this believing in miracles, being very optimistic. All right, if you think about any other, just feel free to share. Then we have the sage. This one is also a classical, and you will see it in every movie, in every book, everywhere, because actually the sage and the hero, they are always together because one needs the other. So the sage is always the guy that provides advice to the hero, right? He always gives advice. He's the teacher, the mentor. So it's all about knowledge, truth, wisdom. So his motto is, wisdom is where the answers lie. So the solution for everything is knowledge. And his goal is to understand the world and teach others. So share this knowledge. His fear is being ignorant, right? Being wrong, feeling confused. And the shadow is that sometimes the sage is very traditional. He's this very traditional guy that overthinks a lot and gets caught in the details. Or many times doesn't really take action. So it's a lot of advice and a lot of knowledge, but not really a lot of action. Sorry. All right. And now some very typical guys, sages. So we have Yoda from Star Wars, right? We have Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. If you guys think this kind of, the sage is always present in these stories. And they are always the ones that provide the best quotes because they are always the ones that give advice, right? When we have those very good quotes, they come from them. So we see, for example, we have Yoda, that is a sage in the Star Wars, but we always have the hero as well. It's just like in Harry Potter. Who is the sage in Harry Potter? Would you mind to share? I have ears like you. You do, Adrian. Adrian for us, oh, that's right. Okay, so in Harry Potter, we have Dumbledore, right? Dumbledore, he's always the one that guides Harry. Harry is the hero. But we also have other brands, for example, TED Talks, right? It's all about learning, all about knowledge, all about sharing knowledge. Harvard University, and actually most universities, let's say, right? It's all about knowledge. Then we have the explorer. The explorer values freedom. The explorer is brave, he has courage, he's curious, he's independent, and he hates commitment. All right, so so I was just now thinking, in the dating scene in Shanghai, there's a lot of explorers. Just a joke. So basically, this explorer is the person that doesn't like commitment and likes to explore everything, but never really settles down. Right? So it's always looking for something new, but never finds the satisfaction. And his motto is, you only live once, YOLO, right? You only live once. His greatest fear is exactly to feel trapped. So for example, this type of people in relationships, they always fear feeling trapped, or somehow they fear commitment. And we have some brands over here that highly use this archetype. They use this archetype a lot. So we have Jeep. If you see in these pictures, they always portray adventure. Even the way the advertising is always, for example, never stop exploring. It's the motto of North Face. And then you have some people practicing extreme sports, right? I live on the edge. So it's this idea of always being brave and taking risks and exploring new things. And for example, Jeep, as you see, it's always quite of a dangerous terrain, right? Over here in the mountains or in the edge, literally. The toughest vehicle in the world, or lead the way. So it's always this idea of living in the extreme, living on the edge, taking risks. Do you know any other brand that uses this archetype? Alicia, just saw your comment. All right, so the Outlaw. It's our next one. The Outlaw is the rebel guy. So the Outlaw is all about revolution, change, freedom, independence. He is the disruptive guy. He is rebellious. And his motto is, live life on your own terms. Live life the way you want it. Rules are meant to be broken. So he's not, he doesn't like rules. These kind of people are usually the ones that hate bosses and managers. So they just don't like authority in general. And they like to create change in an unfair world. So they have this mission of rescuing people, the weak. And they usually use a strategy. They use shock. So they shock people. They destroy concepts. They bring some new stuff, but it's always quite shocking for us. And the shadow is, it might cross over the dark side, because every archetype does. When lived to the extreme, it might go to this dark side of actually breaking rules and not doing things in benefit of the society, but the opposite. So as a very archetypal brand, we have the Diesel. So Diesel advertising is all about shocking people. It's all about bringing rebel stuff, rebel pictures. So the previous logo of the brand was actually Diesel, only the brave. So this motto of only the brave, and only the ones that really really are able to break rules somehow. And they always bring these campaigns are all about breaking stereotypes, or bringing people of all spheres of life, for example, religious people with politicians, politics. So they really want to shock, right? There was one campaign, I think, that was about like the Pope kissing a politician or something like that. Now it was coming to my mind. And I don't know if it was Diesel, but probably. And then we have, for example, this one over here, influencers only write on social media. Be a follower. So this is a provocative style of speaking. It's very provocative, because they are not telling you, do not be a follower. They are actually telling you, just be a follower, and you will have that feeling of no, I cannot just be a follower, right? So it's also about shocking and provoking. And then the girl is writing on the wall, right? Graffiti. So it's also very rebel somehow, right? It's this teenager spirit somehow. And the same on the right side. So they are helping each other to climb the wall, right? So breaking the rules. And then look at what it's written on it. Smart may have the brains, but stupid has the balls, right? So it's all this idea of breaking rules and being a rebel. Then we have the magician. The magician is the archetype of transformation, the archetype of innovation and charisma, charming, mystical. It's about turning ordinary into gold. All your dreams can come true if you believe. That's their motto. And their goals is to make dreams come true. So the shadow side of this archetype is that they might get very manipulative. So and also because they can really, it's really the real idea, the real concept of the magician, right? To manipulate people somehow, to elude people somehow. And it's also hard for him to stay committed to one vision because he's always juggling a lot of ideas, right? So as brands, we have Disney, right? Walt Disney. It's where all the dreams can come true. It's if you can dream it, you can do it. Even though I'm not very sure if this quote is really Walt Disney's, but I think so. At least we know Disney with this quote, right? And we have Steven Spielberg. So it's this idea of bringing magical things to our life, right? Bringing some magic to our life. Then we have the hero. The hero, as I was saying, is the Harry Potter, for example, is the hero, right, in Harry Potter movies. And most of movies, most of books have a hero because hero is the main character in a story. And the warrior, he's also known as the warrior or the champion, the winner. So it's all about achievement, risk, discipline, competence, boldness, the determination. And his motto is, where there's a will, there's a way. You only fail if you stop trying, right? It's this idea of courage and being determined to achieve great things. And his goal is to make a positive mark on the world through courageous acts, taking action. So this archetype is all about action. His greatest fear is being a chicken, so being vulnerable or weak. And the shadow is being a villain, because as I told you, archetypes are all about the spectrum, right? And when lived to the extreme, it's just too much. And I don't know if you remember in one of Harry Potter movies, Dumbledore says to Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is constantly fearing that he will become very similar to Voldemort, right? He's connected to Voldemort. And then Dumbledore tells him, it's our choices far more than our ability. No, it's our abilities far more than our. No, it's our choices more than our abilities that decide what we truly are. Something like that. So this quote is all about this. So the hero himself, he has the potential to be the villain, right? He has all these traits, but he chooses not to be the villain. So this one is quite obvious, right? Just do it, right? So the hero is this archetype of action. So just do it. Don't think too much. Do things history could only dream of. So just just do it. So just do great things. It's all about the big achievements, the brave achievements. It's if we think about coaches, would be the peak performance coaches, right? So it's this idea of somehow achieving great things, great deeds. Gear up for greatness, right? It's this idea of greatness as well. Then we have the lover, the archetype of the lover. And as I taught, you guys can start to think, which archetypes am I living at the moment, right? Because we all tend to have some natural archetypes, maybe one or two usually, but in different phases of life, we also experience different archetypes, right? And in different spheres of life, for example, you might be living one archetype at work because there's how your dynamics at work are, but you might leave another one at home, for example. So you change a bit according to the surroundings, right? So the lover is the seducer, the beauty, the sensualist. So it's very much related with intimacy, romance, connection, passion, love, and commitment. So here is the opposite of the explorer, right? The lover really values commitment. And the motto is, I only have eyes for you. So this one is very romantic. Is a romantic guy or girl. The goal is become more physically and emotionally attractive, create a long-lasting, meaningful relationship, belong and connect. The strategy, build an experience that appeals to all of the senses. So this archetype is also pretty much about senses. And the greatest fear is being rejected, alone, or unloved, right? Because this is one of the archetypes that really need belonging and need emotional connection. The shadow is becoming too much obsessive and dramatic, becoming the drama queen. And one interesting thing about archetypes is that we usually can tell from the person's appearance. So the person's physical appearance, what is their archetypes? Because, for example, an explorer, usually, you know, it's the kind of person that doesn't really cares about his hair. His hair is completely like a messy hair, and it's fine. The colors that they like are usually very much associated to their archetypes as well. An explorer will usually wear, for example, more green colors, brown colors, sporty clothes, right? So all of these really affect us. And we have, as a lover brands, we have Victoria's Secrets, right? That it's the perfect example for the lover archetypes. And as you see, the colors here are very, like all of it is pretty much pink, red, sometimes a little bit of black or brown, but it's pretty much pink and red because it's the color of love, of romance, of sensuality. And if you see even in the brands and in the products, they write a lot of things like romantic, love, passion, these kind of keywords. And we have, for example, Sophia Vergara, right? She's pretty much this lover. We see usually it's also about curves, right? The body is also different. And for example, everything that is related to relationships somehow, to for example, chocolates, right? In the romantic gift, you see the boxes with the heart shapes, with the heart little chocolates. They are usually pink or some similar color, right? Because it's this color of romance. And if you see, even in Godivas, this chocolate brand, you have the logo. It's also a woman that is naked, right? And she has a long hair. So all of these symbols are meaningful to the brand. Then we have the Joker or the Jester. He is all about fun, having fun, living in the present moment, enjoy each day to the fullest. It's all about living in the moment. And his greatest fear is feeling bored or being boring, sad, sad. If you think about it, any jester here or any joker, just feel free to share. So usually the jester is really this person that seems to always be very happy. But again, when it's taken to the extreme, it's not a good thing. Because if you see many actors or many people that we usually think they are comic actors, right? They are very comic. They are the person that always make the jokes, right? These people, many times we see that they are actually very sad and they have depression and other issues because they are not allowing their sad side many times to be expressed. So they just repress it until the moment they cannot anymore, right? Because we all need to live our different emotions. The key attributes: playful, optimistic, fun, bring joy and smile. So it's that friend of yours that it's always making the jokes, right? Always a very light-hearted person that doesn't take things very seriously, and it's not good at planning. So for a business partner, it's not the best ones usually. Okay, but sometimes the shadow side is that people actually are not able to take them seriously, exactly because he doesn't take himself seriously, right? And as brands, we have, for example, M&Ms. You see from the color side, we have lots of colors in these brands. So it's usually very colorful because it's associated with fun, with having fun, right? And if you see here, it says, I know people undress me in their minds. Chocolate, peanut, that's what they see. So it's also about being playful. And these brands usually play with that. And of course, we have our dear Mr. Bean, right? That it's a classic and is always making jokes, making us laugh, even without speaking, right? Usually. So it's not even about spoken jokes, but it's just his character is the joker. Okay. Then we have the everyman, or the common guy, the guy next door. So here the everyman is the guy that loves to be just like the average or just like everyone else. He doesn't like to stand out. He fears being different from the others. He doesn't like to attract too much attention. And he needs belonging. He needs to have friends. He needs to belong to other people and to have friends, to have a friendly environment. The shadow part is this loss of identity, because we see that if you always try to please everyone, and because he's the guy that always tries to fit everywhere, so he changes accordingly. But of course, this way he cannot have a personality. He cannot have his own identity. He's always changing accordingly. So archetypes do not have a gender. So it's always about it. The archetyping has a lot of things inside itself, and some of them are more feminine, some of them are more masculine. But in case of the everyman, for example, I think it's just both. It's not a specific one. All right, then we have the creator, right? That he is the artist, the visionary, the inventor. So he really values imagination, self-expression, creativity, and art. So he's the one that says, think differently. So are you recognizing a brand here? So if it can be imagined, it can be created. The goal is to create something of value, to realize a vision, and to promote individuality. Then the fears, it's really not having inspiration or being unoriginal. And the shadow is being too much of a perfectionist. And can you think of a brand like this, with this, or a person in your life? Share in the chat. Apple, exactly, Apple. Very nice. Okay, so we have Apple, think different, right? And Steve Jobs once said, we are here to put a dent in the universe, otherwise, well, why else even be here? right? So this idea of really making the difference in the world. And Lego as well, because it's all about construction as well. Then we have the ruler. The ruler is the leader. Okay, Alicia, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering what is the downside or the shadow side of the creator? Because I didn't see the slide long enough to see that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So he can be pretty much of a perfectionist usually, right? Because he likes to work in detail, right? He has a lot of attention to detail, and he sometimes get caught in these details. So he doesn't like similar things. He's not like the everyman that likes to be like others. No, he likes to be original. So when he's not original, he just doesn't do anything. Whether I'm different and I think differently and I bring something new and innovative, or I just don't do anything at all. So it's this idea of being caught in the perfectionism. Did I answer your question?
Perfectly. Thank you.
All right, so the ruler. So it's all about leadership, and he's usually goal-oriented. He is all about control, power. The motto is, power isn't everything, it is the only thing. So we already see here how is him like. And then his goal is to help individuals become wealthy, powerful, and he also has this energy of being superior, being more powerful than the others. That's exactly why it fits a leader, right? Because a leader needs to have this kind of energy. His greatest fear is fear of failure, poverty, and losing control or influence. And his shadow is exactly being extremely bossy or arrogant, authoritative. So it's too much, right? Taken to the extreme. And we have some brands. We have also someone here that from her body language, we can understand who is the boss here. So politicians, they study these types of body language as well, right? Because they want to show power. They want to show that they are in charge. And we have this brand, Rolex. And if you see from the colors, from the person that is depicted, right? It's like a powerful man. Of course, this is also a little bit of a stereotype, and archetypes many times are a bit of some stereotypes, right? But it's not really to put people in boxes, right? Stereotypes is just a way of understanding the whole thing, a detail at a time. But of course, it's not about putting a person into only one box. We have so many boxes, right? And then we have the caregiver. The caregiver is the one that supports and provides service to others, and the other is more important than him or herself. So he's the one that whose priority is the other. But and he says, love your neighbor as yourself, or he's the person that is always asking, do you need any help, right? He's the person that always shows that he's available to help. But the shadow side of it, it's that sometimes these kind of people, they completely lose track of themselves, because they are so devoted to others, and also become the victim because they give, so they also want to have something back, right? So if the other doesn't correspond, doesn't give back, so they might be a little bit upset. Here we have some brands such as Nivea, for example. If you see the people portrayed, they are like usually is mother and daughter. So it's like the daughter that takes care of the mother, right? And also this idea of being the brand that like cares, takes care of us. So gives mature skin the extra care it deserves. It always has this kind of keywords, for example, caring, right? And And also mother and children, right? For example, in the second picture. And we have Mother Teresa, right? It's the big archetype of a caregiver. And in Harry Potter, we have Hagrid, right? Hagrid is always the guy that saves Harry Potter, and he's always kind of protecting him because Harry has this difficult background. And then just very quickly, because we already talked about all of these archetypes, but they appear actually in literature, in movies. They are everywhere because we have not only singular archetypes, but also archetypal stories. There are universal, and they exist across times and cultures. And we already talked about the hero's journey, right? That the hero goes through all of these stages until he really achieves something great, right? So it's if you go to the myths, for example, in Greek culture, in the Romance culture, you will see that most of these characters, they exist, right? They exist in the myths. And we have, for example, the Lord of the Rings. And now I want to ask you, so we already went through these, but who is Frodo here, right? And who is Gandalf? Like, what archetypes do they represent? I think this one is quite easy. Hagrid, yeah. All right. So it's pretty much the hero, right? The Frodo is the hero, and then we have Gandalf always with his quotes, right? All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. So he's always the guy with the quotes. And then we have Harry Potter, the same thing. Harry Potter here is the hero. Sam, he's the hero. Yeah. And then we also have Dumbledore, right? This is the quote exactly. It is our choices that show us what we truly are, far more than our abilities. We're starting as everyday men, then becoming the hero. Exactly. Yeah, Adrian, feel free to share your perspective on the hero journey, because I remember you talking about that also in one of our classes.
Yeah,
exactly.
With the hero's journey, or some of the marketing, and you'd know this better than I, but sometimes with the marketing or the hero's journey, we might start off talking about the everyday man, or I was just like you. I was just like you. It's just like you. And then at some point later on the track, the wise old man or the old owl or someone wise comes out archetyped, and then we step up from being an ordinary man to something else to get over the obstacle, and we become the hero. Or I think we're trying to go from the everyday man to whatever the crisis is, and then hero in our marketing.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. All right, and we have some other stories. For example, Romeo and Juliet, right? The star-crossed lovers that they are forbidden to really experience this love because of the society and the family, right? And then they tragically put an end to their lives, right? So this story is also a pattern in terms of stories, because most books, they are actually, the plot is quite similar, but the way, so they have the same characters. The only difference is that they just make some changes in the way they write the stories, right? But the archetypal stories already exist. So this is something also important for people that write novels, right? They need to understand archetypes. They need to understand the basic patterns of human nature, right? The human behavior and the archetypal stories. And now this is for you guys. So what archetypes are there in 50 Shades of Grey? What archetype is Anastasia, and what archetype is Christian Grey? And why is this movie and these books so successful? Why are they bestsellers? Just feel free to share. Any? The lover. Isabella. Very nice. Yes. The ruler. Nice. Yes. So who is the lover and who is the ruler? It's not hard, right? So we have Anastasia. She is the lover archetype. That's right. She is very sensual. All the movie has, or all the story has, this lover archetype very strong. But she is really the lover. But she has one very evident other archetype. Another one. She is a lover, but she is also another one. If you look at her, the way she puts her finger and the way she puts her body, the child, exactly, that we call the innocent, right? In archetypes, the innocent. She's naive. Exactly. So she has all these this way of being very naive and very submissive as well, right? Because Christian is the ruler, the guy that is cold. He's really not committed somehow, right? Switching between the two archetypes, exactly, because they need to make these characters complex, right? To attract us. But they are the stereotypes of, some gender roles as well. That's why it's so successful, because people like to see stereotypes somehow. But yeah, this kind of personality traits, it's just in relationships in general. Usually the dynamic is if one of the person in the relationship is very submissive and very the good girl or the good boy, right? The other one will need to compensate this by being the opposite, right? So it's these dynamics in relationships are very well portrayed also in this movie. All right, and just to finish, so archetypes, as I told you, they exist everywhere and in everything. And colors, shapes are not an exception. So colors have different energies, and different energies means that they make you feel differently. So if you go, I used to live in a house that was all the walls were blue, light blue, and I used to feel so relaxed. Really relaxed, because the blue makes you feel relaxed, right? But if you have maybe red walls, you will feel very like not very calm, right? You will feel the opposite. And red, for example, is also a color of violence. If it also has this potential inside of it. So colors are also used in marketing, not only for self-development purposes, but also, of course, in marketing. In interior design, for example, we have the shapes. So, for example, round shapes are very much feminine. So in feng shui, right, in China, feng shui is very popular. So we have the round shapes, they are feminine, while the sharp, rectangular, squared shapes, they are much more masculine. And in environments, if inside of a home, if you want to have a more welcoming home somehow, you would like to have some more round shapes. So for example, in the first picture, it's quite round, maybe too much actually. Everything is round here, right? But if you look into here, everything is like a triangle. Then we have squares. So everything is much more rectangular somehow. And this, we already talked a little bit about tarot, right? And about the myth. So I won't go deeper into this. So thank you. Thank you, guys, and feel free to share your insights and your questions. I'd love to hear them.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live, free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.